Hey guys, so we have an interesting point of discussion today. We have Jupiter in the North Node coming into an exact alignment in the sign of Taurus. This will be a 5-day activation and it hasn't happened in a while. Jupiter and the North Node take about 7 or 8 years every time they come into alignment with one another. So, it's kind of a rare transit on its own, but they haven't come into the exact alignment in the sign of Taurus since May of 1929. So we have some historical context that we need to take a look at today in regards to how this energy is coming together. It is also happening at a very specific and important point in the sky called the Chiron point. This is the 1 degree in the sky where the planet Chiron was discovered, and this is also going to be initiating sort of an active phase of growth in alignment with these Chiron themes and archetypes. But I will tell you, you guys, it's Jupiter. This is Zeus. And Chiron, in the mythology, when these two come together, it indicates some type of transcendence, some type of release from a soul wound or a karmic burden that we've been carrying for a long period of time. Jupiter, this is truth, this is freedom, and this is expansion. This is also the great benefic, luck, good fortune, and blessings. And this is the North Node. This is the destiny point. This is our next phase of karmic growth. This is like the cosmic lesson plan as it's unfolding, and it's also represented by the head of the dragon. We want to be careful that we are not sort of biting off more than we can chew or taking things to some type of extreme excess this week. But other than that, you guys, this is some very interesting energy. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's get into our report of the day. Let's look at this energy in a little bit more detail, what this might be indicating for us on the ground this week and as this energy unfolds. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day where we are narrating the shift of the ages, looking at the energy as it is coming through on a day-to-day basis in the context of this greater frequency-based transition into our new paradigm, into our new age, into the age of Aquarius. So today we happen to be looking at quite a significant moment in the unfolding of this cosmic blueprint, and that is the alignment of Jupiter and the North Node coming together in the sign of Taurus. This is very significant to me. This specific Jupiter North Node Taurus alignment is putting a tremendous amount of emphasis on themes surrounding value, themes surrounding worth, themes surrounding wounding, healing, and authentic potential. It is also happening at a very specific point in the sky called the Chiron point, which is the degree where Chiron was originally discovered. And with Jupiter and the North Node in the sign of Taurus, this is talking about also some type of soul growth, but it happening at the specific Chiron point. This again is emphasizing themes of value and worth and the cultivation, the development of potential, but it's also bringing up themes of wounding and healing, victim complexes, and what needs to be learned or acquired or cultivated or discovered right now in order to get back in alignment with the true potential for growth, with sort of like activating destiny. It's interesting also right now because we do have Uranus also in the sign of Taurus right now. And Uranus is the great awakener. Uranus is the great rectifier. Uranus rules the age of Aquarius. There is something big that needs to happen in regards to our perception of value, to our perception of worth, to the way that we are dealing with value and worth and resources and potential as well. There's got to be a realignment. There's got to be some type of an awakening in order to get back on a track where we can truly expand in alignment with proper growth. And I feel like that is what this particular Jupiter-Taurus alignment at the Chiron point, while Uranus is also in the sign of Taurus, is ultimately kind of bringing us to a point in time where things can no longer continue to grow as they are unless there is some type of radical redirection in the context of rediscovering or realigning with some type of true value, worth, potential, and the path towards organic growth in alignment with universe's plans for expansion moving forward. So we've got to talk about Chiron themes today, like I said in my intro, but also just these Taurus themes very strong. Lots and lots to do with value, resources, assets, possessions, projects, partnerships. But again, really all boiling down to like truth, right? Jupiter, worth, value, true worth, true value, what is truly valuable to us, what is truly worthy to us, and Because this is happening at the Chiron point also, what perhaps aspects or dimensions of ourselves we are willing to sacrifice in order to obtain this greater sense of truth in the context of our value and of our potential and of what we're growing into and towards right now. Major themes surrounding wounding, healing, health, and medicine. These could also be themes that are coming up somehow like in the collective on a larger scale, where we've been wounded in the past and how this is impacting us and what we are willing, again, like I said, to sacrifice in order to gain what is truly valuable to us. Wounding, healing, personal growth, material resource-based growth, and material abundance. These are the things that are trying to come through to us in this energy, but there's a level of maturity and there's a level of wisdom derived through experience that we need to act in alignment with in order to truly reap the benefits of this positive growth and momentum going forward. And I'm going to talk about, why I feel like that in just a minute, but I also want to say, okay, we're talking about Rahu, we're talking about the North Node. This is, in ancient traditional astrology known as the head of the dragon, because it can kind of create this insatiable thirst for, or like frenzy for, or desire for this experience or whatever energy is indicated by the positioning of the North Node. So in the sign of Taurus, of course, this is this very, sensual, sensory, earth-based, physicality-based energy. So a desire to sort of satisfy the senses or the urges, desires of the physical body, like this could be something that we find expanded, okay, with Jupiter there over this next couple of days. Taurus is also about what we're eating, okay, and it has to do with the mouth. And so we want to make sure that we're not sort of overeating. Also, of course, the monetary themes and the acquiring of possessions, material possessions and stuff like that. So we want to make sure we're not like overspending in sort of like an unrestricted way, okay? And we want to make sure also that we're not sort of like overeating and just taking things to excess along the lines of whatever is making us feel full or whatever is making us feel good or whatever is like appeasing, right? Like the physical body, meeting the needs and the desires of the physical body in some type of a way. And it's interesting, we also need to talk a bit, like I said, before we kind of get into this Chiron story, about the historical context of this North Node Chiron, or this North, no, not Chiron, I meant to say the North Node Taurus Jupiter energy. Now, like I said in my intro, the last time that we had the North Node and Jupiter aligning in the sign of Taurus, this was in May, okay, early May of 1929. Actually, I think it's a 5-day period. I think it was like May 3rd through the 8th or May 5th, somewhere in the first week of May is when we had this exact activation. In 1929. Now, this happened at 22 degrees of Taurus. So this happened more towards the end of the sign of Taurus, which I also find to be interesting because right now, as we have Jupiter and the North Node coming together at 4 degrees of Taurus, we have Uranus currently at 21 degrees of Taurus. So Uranus right now in the sign of Taurus is actually in a near exact conjunction to where the previous Jupiter North Node Taurus conjunction was. So I feel like, there could be a little bit of significance in that, just in terms of sort of like looking at the past in the context of the future and, what could be to come. But it needs to be said that the last time that this alignment occurred, there was this huge, roaring like stock markets and economy and stuff like that. But 5 months later, that was when the crash happened that, led to the Great Depression and all of that. That happened immediately following the conjunction of Jupiter and the North Node in the sign of Taurus the last time that this went around. And I've been talking to you guys for quite a while about as a part of our transition into the age of Aquarius, the financial and economic shifts and transitions that are being represented by this story as it's unfolding right now, and it's undeniable. And it just seems to be, you guys, that we should take heed, okay, of the wisdom of the past in like true like kind of like live demonstration of the energy that's coming through right now, that is actually asking us also to like take heed of the wisdom of the past, and as a result of that make some different choices that may require a bit of a personal sacrifice on our part, but that will actually open us up to receiving this enhanced abundance that is trying to come to us over the course of this Jupiter North Node Taurus cycle. Now again, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, but to bring it back, Jupiter and the North Node in the sign of Taurus, immediately preceding the big crash that happened in 1929. There was a huge high, okay, before that happened, and Jupiter in the North Node, like that's one thing that can do. So I'm kind of saying now that we don't want to be taking things to excess, okay? We want to sort of be very smart with financial matters. We want to be very smart with anything material-based, resource-based, asset-based. There could be, you know, there is likely to be some positive financial blessings and abundance that are coming in over this period of time, as you know, especially in the energy right now, but carrying us through as Jupiter is transiting Taurus, because Jupiter in Taurus, that's what it does. It expands the physical, tangible, material world, and like what is growing and what we're producing, and you know, the comforts and just like the pleasantries and stuff that we are able to partake in as a result of sort of like the bounty of our labor. You know, Taurus is a sign about like putting hard work into something in order to be able to indulge in the pleasures of it later. And it just seems, you guys, with Uranus, because don't forget, you know, we have this activation, but then Jupiter is going to move on and come into this conjunction with Uranus in the sky in the sign of Taurus. And this could definitely be representing some unexpected, shocking stuff that hits on a financial level, affecting sort of like the collective of humanity, because we're talking about Uranus, we're talking about Aquarius. This is resonating to the greater collective, the greater whole. But again, you guys, it's going to be about ultimately a necessary change, or perhaps, you know, a necessary wound that is for the purpose of restoring true value and bringing us back into alignment with like authentic growth and authentic potential in one way or another. So, you know, it's a very interesting dynamic of energy as it's setting up, okay? We'll have to see how this plays out, but I do feel like it is in our best interest, you know, now and moving forward throughout the rest of this year, to maybe just be very smart with our financial dealings, because we're talking about this alignment happening at the Chiron point. The Chiron point is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's the Sabian symbol for the Chiron point, and it represents the true gold of the soul, which is wisdom, essentially. And acting from a place of expanded wisdom along financial lines, because we're talking about this in the sign of Taurus, having to do with resources, having to do with assets, having to do with what we're putting our time and energy into growing and cultivating right now, is likely to produce the best results for us moving forward. Now let's talk a little bit about the Chiron mythology. Like I said, this to me is, you know, it's very powerful on a lot of fronts. First of all, before I get into that, another thing that I wanted to note, I do want to say also, and I found this to be very interesting, in the May 1929 chart, when we had the Jupiter North Node conjunction in Taurus going on, Pluto was in the sign of Cancer right now. So that is, you know, an indication, considering, you know, looking back and knowing what happened, that whatever that Jupiter North Node conjunction was going to, you know, end up leading to, was likely to have a very transformative effect on the home and on the family, okay? With Pluto in the sign of Cancer. So, you know, that kind of makes sense in the context of how the Great Depression, which followed, unfolded and everything. Now, though, we have Pluto, 0 degrees of Aquarius, retrograding back into the sign of Capricorn. To me, this is an entirely different financial impact. It's almost saying, like, if there were to be like that kind of like repeat scenario or something like that, like, or a pattern were to replicate in some type of way, it's almost indicating it to have like a more transformative effect on the Capricorn themes, on the power structures, on the authorities, on the 3D like control systems and matrices and the financial institutions and stuff like that of the past, as opposed, because of the Capricorn energy, as opposed to the home and the family on that more like community-based level. So it's interesting, you know, being at 0 degrees of Aquarius, like this is about the individual, but this is also Aquarius. This is about empowering the individual, and this is about like innovations, okay, and like technology and science and stuff. Like it's almost like, you know, if something along those lines were to occur in this energy now, I think that it would actually not at all have the same type of impact that it had back then on the home, the family, and the community. It's almost like some type of breakdown in those 3D matrices, again, like does something to empower and inspire transformation in regards to advancement along the lines of the Aquarian-based themes, right? This is the science, this is the technology, and this is the empowerment of the individual. This is, it's almost like a more self-empowering than self-destructive way that it seems like this energy would come through, just based on Pluto's placement alone, and the difference between that chart in 1929 and this chart that we have as it's going on now. But anyways, that being said, let's talk about the Chiron mythology for a minute. Zeus is Jupiter. Jupiter and Chiron, in the Chiron story, when they come together, Zeus is what frees Chiron, Jupiter is what frees Chiron from this like tremendous karmic burden and this soul wound, that this immortal wound that he is never able to escape from. It is a sacrifice on the part of Chiron, a personal sacrifice on the part of Chiron, that actually allows him to have a second chance of life as the Sagittarius constellation in the sky. If you guys were ever wondering where the Sagittarius constellation, the centaur and the bow and arrow came from, that's actually Chiron, the wounded healer teacher. And how this myth goes, just a very short form of it, and there's a lot of variations on it, of course, because it's a myth, but essentially Chiron is the wounded healer teacher. Chiron was abandoned by his parents initially, and he suffered this very deep wound in childhood that made him different from all the other centaurs, and he was much more like hermit mode and much more like aloof. And as a result of that, though, he trained in like all the great healing arts. He became known as one of like the greatest healers and one of the wisest, like, well, centaurs or like beings, mythological characters, okay, at that point in time. And Chiron also then went on to set up a school for the heroes. He was the teacher of all the great heroes, Heracles or Hercules and Achilles. There was several of them. And what happened was that Chiron actually ended up accidentally being wounded by a poisoned arrow that was shot by one of the heroes, by one of his students. And this poisoned arrow left a wound that would never heal. But because he was immortal, he was therefore like destined to suffer this extremely painful wound that would never heal for the rest of time. And one day he happened to stumble across Prometheus, who was also hooked into his own never-ending suffering because he had brought fire to man. And as a punishment for that, he was like chained to a rock, and the vulture, some versions it's an eagle, pecked out his liver like every single day, and then it would grow back. So every single day he like had to endure this horrible torture that he could never get away from. And so it was just like this endless suffering, right? And Chiron was also involved in this cycle of this endless suffering that he could never escape from because he was immortal. So he was like, you know what, Prometheus, I see you suffering there, and I know you're suffering because you essentially were trying to help the greater good. And now I am also suffering, but here I am immortal. So you know what? Why don't I release you from your suffering, since I'm already always suffering anyways, and I will just take your place. And so Prometheus, of course, was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great deal for me. So Prometheus and Chiron then switched places, and now Chiron is in the place where he's already in the suffering and he's going through the same torture and torment of Prometheus. However, One of the heroes, Heracles, I believe it was, shot the vulture that was eating the liver every day, which released Chiron from that burden. But simultaneously, Chiron had given up his immortality when he had made the sacrifice to release Prometheus out of, a desire to serve the greater good. And because, and he died in physical form, right? But because of all of this personal sacrifice that Chiron made, which ultimately took his life, Zeus was actually, who is Jupiter, was actually so inspired that he brought Chiron back to life as the constellation Sagittarius in the sky. So that is how we get the constellation Sagittarius. Sagittarius is also the host of the galactic center, which is all about, the utmost in wisdom, the source code creation energy, the galactic wisdom of the universe. And it's hosted in the constellation Chiron. Chiron therefore represents second chances based on personal sacrifice and wisdom. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, the Sabian symbol associated with the Chiron point, wisdom through experience, the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype. This is what we're dealing with. This is where we're at. And I feel like the greater symbolic, wisdom to be gleaned from this specific activation has really everything to do with our ability to choose what is right over what is easy, with the faith and the trust that we will be protected, supported, and actually released from our wounds and healed as a result of doing the right thing. It was only through his personal sacrifice for good of all that Chiron was eventually released from this endless immortal pain and wound and given the second chance to shine in the heavens as this constellation. Zeus put him there, Jupiter put him there, Jupiter in the North Node. This is destiny. This is some type of expanded, fated alignment at the Chiron point. Release from soul wounds, release from karmic burdens through doing what is right, even if it means sacrificing aspects of ourselves. Primarily in this case, this is going to be associated with the ego and with our lower instincts and with states of victimhood that we may have clung to or perceived to be empowering us in the past. This is choosing the hard path because it's the right path and sticking to that regardless of what we may need to personally lose in the process. Chiron gave up his immortality in order to be released from this burden and from this wound and to do what was in alignment with the greater good. But as a result of that, he now lives on forever. He was returned his immortality in a way that can shine and can guide all to see. And therefore also Chiron leads through examples and is the shining light for others who are also going through this hero's journey process. Remember, it's all about, there's an initial childhood wound and then we have to go through this process and learn how to heal ourselves. And then he was wounded for a second time, right? But then through the wisdom and the love and the personal sacrifice was given a second chance at true immortality and to be the true guiding light and the true teacher and the true holder of that wisdom for the overall collective and anybody who can tap into that frequency. So it is this opportunity that I feel like is what this is representing on a higher level. And especially also, I need to say, we've been talking about a lot about mythology in this report and not so much about the specific other transits going on because, this Jupiter North Node really is the main business right now. But it also needs to be said that moving into the energy for Wednesday, this is huge. The moon is going to be transiting into the sign of Scorpio, coming into a conjunction with the South Node. The South Node is karma. The South Node is the past. The South Node is what we are detaching from in the sign of Scorpio. This is toxic attachments or attachments to old wounds that have actually been stealing our power and preventing us from seeing our true value, our true worth, our true potential, and aligning with that true path of growth, coming into these states of self-mastery. The hero's journey is also emblematic and very representative of the inner process of alchemization and this inner transmutation. Chiron is also the alchemist, right? This is where we gain this wisdom, and through this wisdom we are able to transmute and overcome these lower instincts and urges, and therefore go through this personal sacrifice, which ultimately puts us in a place where we exist, where our legacy or where our wisdom can persist and exist far beyond our physical presence in this, 3D reality. So, the hero's journey really tied up in all of this. There could be a lot of themes of that are kind of present right now, and all of the Taurus themes, we can expect them to be amplified and accentuated and major themes. But value, worth, this can be physical, you know, we're talking about like money, markets, stock markets, finances, economies, and shifts going on along those lines. But it's also going to have a lot to do with what it is we truly value, what we truly find worthy. And I mean, it's just Jupiter. Jupiter is truth. Taurus is value, true potential, true worth. It's also, you know, getting back to basics. We really want to, again, like if we're going to be expanding into this Taurus energy, we want to be expanding into the simplicity of the Taurus energy and what we can create and what we can produce and what we can build like with our own hands, you know, in a more sustainable way, and not so much into the, you know, material like excess and maybe like luxury and just like excessive abundance of material things type of energy. We want to use our money, our energy, our assets, and our resources wisely in this, at this time, in the context again of this greater historical context, which can demonstrate you know, a big period of expansion with Jupiter going through the sign of Taurus. But if things are taken overboard, it can have a boomerang effect back the other direction when this energy passes. So it's all about regaining, with Uranus there as well. This is about authentic value, authentic potential, true value, true worth, true potential, and the wisdom to recognize and work with that without squandering it through excess and like extreme compulsions towards meeting some type of insatiable desire for something. There's contradictory symbolism that we have playing out in the energy as this comes exact on Tuesday as well, which is quite fitting in the context of kind of like the high and low nature that this energy can indicate. We have the sun at 10 degrees of Gemini on Tuesday, an airplane performing a nosedive, okay? That's that. But we've also got the earth at 10 degrees of Sagittarius, a golden-haired goddess of opportunity. So huge opportunities, you guys, new beginnings, and also the downfall of something, the crash of something, the ending of something, the plummeting, the plunge. We'll see how this plays out, but interesting symbolism to be accompanying the first day of this alignment as well. Now, Wednesday, as I said, this is a very significant day in the unfolding of this energy. I feel like this is probably the most significant day of the Jupiter North Node conjunction, because the moon will be in the exact opposition and conjunction to the South Node. And it will be a very much like this energy is very much an energetic activation for the release of these soul wounds and of these karmic burdens that I was talking about, being indicated through the presence of this energy at the Chiron point. It's not just, you know, it's not Taurus. I'm thinking Venus, I'm thinking Taurus. No, it's not Jupiter and the North Node together that is releasing us from these soul wounds. Although with the South Node in Scorpio, like this is an indication for that. I've been talking about the nodal transit through Taurus and Scorpio of the North and the South nodes of the moon. This has been a karmic detox process where we've been going through a 1.5 year phase of detaching from anything stealing our power and preventing us from seeing the truth of our value, potential, and like potential for authentic growth. That is what this nodal axis, South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus, represents. And we are nearing the end of this. I mean, the nodes are getting very close to transiting into Libra and Aries. So this is coming to a close, and it's coming to a close in a big way with this karmic release, super indicated by Jupiter aligning with the nodes at the conjunction opposition to the Chiron point, and the moon just so happening to come to the exact alignment during the couple of days that this activation is exact. Like, this is just really huge. Things from the past could also be very relevant right now, could definitely be coming up in this energy related to childhood also perhaps, and an emotional release, detachment from some of these things, kind of swapping it out for this growth in this new direction that we are being called to now. I mean, the head of the dragon, right? The North Node with Jupiter there is likely to be kind of like an expanded feeling that you need to do something, that you need to make something happen, that you're interested in something, that you want to work on something, that you want to grow something, like something that is kind of grabbing your attention and pulling you forward in that direction, in a more like expanded way, or, you know, causing you to want to instigate some type of growth in some type of new direction. That is what this energy represents. It is about new beginnings though. Like we have on Wednesday, the 31st, when the moon is coming into the exact alignment. This is our emotions, this is our internal environment, and this is the South Node. This is the emotional release from some of this stuff. People could be very, very emotional. In the opposition to Jupiter, there could be some really big, really deep emotions that are going on in the energy on Wednesday. But we have 11-11. Like the sun and the earth are both at 11 degrees. 11 degrees of Gemini for the sun, 11 degrees of Sagittarius for the earth, and the energy on Wednesday when we have this activation unfolding with the moon in opposition to Jupiter and the North Node. Newly opened lands offer the pioneer new experiences for opportunity. This is the position of the sun while we have this activation going on. It's all about these new beginnings. This is like the final kick and the final like door close on the chapters from the past where we had maybe not been living in alignment with like the truth of who we know we really are, and therefore experiencing a reality that was suffering in terms of a level of fulfillment for us, or happiness and or love, you know, something in some capacity or another. And then therefore the earth at 11 degrees of Sagittarius, the lamp of physical enlightenment at the left temple. All about new beginnings, all about new opportunities, the second chance, right? This Chiron energy, this fresh start with the sun at the newly opened lands degree, about new opportunities, and then with the earth there to rebuild from a place of wisdom and enlightenment. The lamp of physical enlightenment, illumination, figuring something out at the left temple. We also have Mars at 7 degrees of Leo on Wednesday. That Sabian symbol is the constellations of stars shine brilliantly in the night sky. The action that is what is happening right now, like what is occurring, what is unfolding is divinely guided. Things are happening in divine timing, in divine alignment, according to this universal cosmic blueprint as it is unfolding. We are being reassured by that, by the position of Mars ruling energy, ruling action, ruling what is actually happening. So there you go, you guys. Very significant. Again, our transition into the age of Aquarius has a lot to do with this process of self-actualization. It is an age of self-knowledge, self-understanding, self-enlightenment, self-mastery, co-creation with God and universe. And in order to get to that point, we have to go through this self-actualization process, which is also known as the hero's journey, which is represented through this Chiron energy, which is being so amplified right now. There is a major kick right now, you guys, to help us collectively kind of evolve on a conscious level to a greater state of wisdom that is detached, more so detached from states of victimhood that are subconsciously controlling the expressions and the manifestations of our reality. We are gaining as humanity an opportunity to become more conscious creators of our reality in alignment with our higher truths and a greater sense of wisdom and a greater sense of self-mastery. Moving through this window of time right now. So that's what I have to say today, you guys, in terms of the astrology. Very significant, very healing energy. And again, there's just likely to be lots of emphasis going on the Taurus related themes: value, worth, money, what we really want, what we truly love, what we truly value, what we can build, what we want to work on, what's in alignment with like our true authentic potential. This is destiny activating energy for the purpose of restoring things to their proper trajectory of growth in alignment with the universal blueprint and universe's journey to expand right now. Let's talk about the tarot cards for a minute, you guys. I'm going to do a quick tarot reading today because this video is really long and I honestly have a hard time sitting still for this long. We've got the Star coming out with the King of Cups. We've got the Six of Swords. We've got the Nine of Wands, the Ten of Swords in reverse. And then we've got the Sun in reverse. Basically, what this means to me right now is, you know, holding on to our higher truths, okay? Coming from a place of emotional regulation, emotional self-control, not allowing ourselves to lose our light in the face of whatever struggles we may be facing right now. We are actually on a journey that is taking us away and out of these phases of karmic struggle in the past, but it's coming through in regards to our ability, you know, the King of Cups, in our ability to stay true to our heart, to come from a place of emotional maturity, to be able to detach emotionally from any of the like lower vibe frequencies, you know, the sun in reverse, this ego, distorted ego that may be trying to, that may be causing issues for us in some way. This is talking about a healing that is going on as well. The Nine of Wands in regards to, you know, a battle or a burden that we've been facing or enduring for a long period of time. And we've also got on the back of the deck, we've got the Ace of Wands coming through and the Six of Pentacles and the Three of Cups. Like there is this fresh start and this new inspiration that is trying to rebalance the scales for us somehow, that is trying to bring us back to a state of inner equilibrium and inner harmony where we can truly begin to create something that is much more fulfilling on a lot of levels and much more self-empowering. The Emperor is under there as well. So, you know, we can't allow ourselves to lose hope. We can't allow ourselves to lose touch with our higher nature, okay? And this is like the Chiron mythology, the Chiron energy. We need to do the right thing, even if it hurts us, even if it's painful, even if our, you know, it brings up an ego wound, or even if it causes us to experience a loss or something that we need to let go of that hurts us in some type of a way, because this is how we actually release ourselves from sort of like a greater issue that has been holding us back from achieving a true state of like fulfillment or happiness or purpose in our lives somehow. So this is what's being realigned for us right now, you guys. It's going to be very interesting to see, you know, how the rest of this energy unfolds and what it ends up actually leading to as we move through the rest of this year, through the rest of our Taurus season. And as Jupiter moves towards conjunction with Uranus as well. Let's grab one more card, a synchronicity card. Let's see a piece of advice for us today. And the card that we got, it says seek inner strength, which again, like that's what this is, right? The King of Cups and the Star. Like we need to maintain hope and we need to hold on to our internal strength and our like emotional self-control. Give me this water that I thirst not. John 4:15. You are thirsting for values in your life. You are not using the wisdom and guidance of your subconscious when you don't think right, feel right, and act right. The mass mind impinges on your mind, and the result is confusion and failure. All wisdom, knowledge, and power are within your mind. You know the difference. You know the values you need to uphold. Turn away from the mass mind and go within to do what you know is right. So that's the message for today, you guys. Seek inner strength, and literally so like exemplary of the lessons represented by the Chiron archetype, Jupiter in the North Node there. That is excellent advice. Here's the card again if you want to read it, because I feel like that's really important right now. And that's our guidance. So that's what we've got to say. That's what I've got to say today, you guys. Message from the stars, message from the cards. I hope you guys liked it. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends. If you think they would like this type of content as well, leave me comments, you guys. Let me know if you're having experiences that match up with what I'm talking about in the energy. I love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you so, so much. And thank you so much for being here. Facebook page, Facebook group, website, other stuff. Instagram in my description box below if you're into any of that type of stuff. Come back with me later this week, you guys. My next video out is going to be the June overview, and then we will have the full moon in Gemini to talk about. So busy week of astrology, and that's just where we're at. So come back with me next time, you guys. You don't want to miss it. You definitely don't want to miss what we've got going on in June. I will be here. You should be here too. I will see you then. Have a beautiful day. Until next time. Bye, guys.